Hello. First tea time in a really long time. How is it going? Does anybody recognize the studio I'm in? Unfortunately, we had some questions that Jonas Kemper left, and now they're deleted, so I can't see them. So if anybody happens to know what they are, which is probably unlikely, let me know. Hello, Mark on. Just Mark. Mark on business. What's up, Mark? Welcome. Thanks for coming. Another Mark. Hello. I'm happy it's here too. Thanks for being here. Sorry, I got to adjust this thing a little bit. Misha, how's it going? Thanks for coming. So I just got over COVID, and this is the first day that I can kind of taste the tea I'm drinking, which is nice. What's up, Jeremiah? What kind of tea am I drinking? So I don't know. It's something I got at Jiao. Oh, maybe Gabor sometimes shows up. If Gabor is here, maybe he can tell me what kind of tea it is. He filled up my portable tea thing, and normally I can taste it, and so I could guess what it is or roughly guess what it is, and I can only halfway taste. But it's some kind of rolled oolong. Almost kind of tastes like a Phoenix oolong, but it's not because it's rolled. Mark, yeah, I think that I saw them a few days ago, so I thought that they were going to stay, and now they're gone. So I feel bad. I might be able to search in my history, but I think I'm not going to do that while I'm live. Gaba Ali Shan, I really like that kind of tea. That's great. Yes, I'm in Austin. You can't tell that well with my crappy computer camera, but that taco, that's Noah's logo taco. So I'm in Noah Kagan's studio right now. We just had tea, so I'm drinking the leftovers while he goes mountain biking. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Welcome. Yeah, I know it's not actually a Phoenix, but it kind of tastes something like that. Like some kind of mid-oxidized oolong, but I can't fully taste it. It's really weird. So I lost my taste during COVID, and for a while I couldn't taste anything with tea. It just tasted like hot water to me, which is really bizarre. And every day I get some amount of taste back, and today it's almost completely back. It's the first day I've really enjoyed the tea, so that's pretty good. What's up, Brian? Thanks for coming. Good to see you. How severe is your COVID? It wasn't severe. My symptoms were negligible, almost there. But there were 1 or 2 days where I just was feeling it. I was just hard to describe it. I just wasn't feeling good. I was just oh, I can't wait for this to be over. And then 2 days after that, I woke up and was oh, I feel better all of a sudden, but I still cough a little bit. So I'm actually probably only going to do 45 minutes or so, because the more I talk, the more I cough. What's up, Ben? Good to see you too. So what do you guys want to talk about today? I know I have no particular topic, but I just haven't done a tea time in so long, so I thought I'd just put one on the schedule and force myself to do it. Nice. Look at this. Mark is going to Budapest, October 14th to 18th. Is there any chance I'm going to be there then? No, I don't think so, unfortunately. That's awesome, though. You probably will, but go to Jiao Tea House. It's the best tea house. I was just telling one of Noah's friends here about it. It's my #1 favorite tea house in the world. You got to go. Tell them you're my friend. They watch the live stream sometimes too, so they'll know all about it. And they have some of the best recommendations for tea. I love going there and just saying, oh, just give me whatever you want. It's always something great. Even this, I don't know what it is, but it's really good. No particular topics for today. I know people like it better sometimes when I make topics, but I kind of like I like it being random. And then I feel like when we have topics, we end up talking most of the time about other stuff too. You can ask my opinion. If it's just Vegas versus Phoenix, I'm always going to say Vegas, but I don't know. Phoenix is cool. I like Phoenix, but I haven't spent a lot of time there, but it does seem pretty cool. What do you think about the latest developments in the US regarding crypto? Not sure what's happened recently, but there's always something going on. I think my personal opinion, make your own decisions, all that kind of stuff. My personal opinion now is that Ethereum in particular is too big to fail. I think it's made enough progress where basically nobody can screw it up. And that wasn't always the case, but I think it's at that point now, especially because it's about to be switched to proof of stake. And at that point, I think it's all over. I think it will be untouchable, but could be wrong. So, do your own research, but that's my own opinion. Yes, pumpkin GABA. That was a really good one. They had an even better GABA than that before too, but then they ran out and couldn't get it the next year. Marimoto, man, that place is gone now. It was this fully authentic Japanese tea house in Budapest that was unbelievable. So sad when it shut down. I even talked to Gabor to see if we could buy it from Marimoto and have Gabor run it. And he was just having so much trouble staffing at the time that he's like, yeah, I can't do it. What's up, Nicholas? Good to see you. Hassan, good to see you. I'm in Noah's studio right now. In fact, in front of me, he has like really good lights up there. He has a good microphone. He has a really good camera. But we were drinking tea and I didn't have time to set it up. So we're just using my laptop, unfortunately. I know what you're talking about. He says, Congress threatening to regulate crypto. Seriously. I'm not worried about it. I think some regulation could be good. It'll make it more easy for it to be integrated into our financial system. I think principle-wise, I wish that wouldn't happen, but I think it's sort of inevitable for it to become successful. So that's fine. Do you ever get range anxiety with your EV? No, because I have a BMW i3 Rex, and the Rex stands for range extender. And it's basically this little scooter engine in the back that can turn on either on demand or when the battery gets low, and it just charges the battery. So it doesn't drive the wheels, it charges the battery. So I got the one that has the smallest battery. It can only go about 60 miles, but the range extender can go another 60 or so miles. And plus you could always just fill it up with more gas. So it'd be pretty impossible for me to really run out of range on that. I think it's a cool compromise. I think eventually we won't need that when there's enough infrastructure or whatever, but it lets me push it all the way down to like 5-10 miles, 2 miles left, because I just know I can turn on the range extender. T-letter guy, heard you're in Austin now, hanging out with some of my friends. I don't know what I'm drinking. It's a rolled medium oxidized oolong. I got it from Zhao. Every time I get tea and I put it in my little travel thing, I think, oh, I should write down what these are so I remember it. And then I think, well, I was excited enough about the tea to put it in here. I'm definitely going to remember what it is. And now I forget what this one is. And I don't have my taste buds totally back from COVID, so I can barely even tell. Yeah, now it's pretty weak. We've been drinking it for about an hour, so hard to really tell what it is. That's a good question. Mark says, do you think that learning to code is has almost for everyone a positive EV? A friend suggested for more job opportunities. My mom shouldn't learn how to code. I don't know. Yeah, I think in general, it's a really good thing to do. I think it really depends. I think it just depends if you're not doing anything. my personal opinion, and this is like a sort of privileged position to be able to take, but I think coding's a pretty miserable job. I think it's like a really fun hobby. I think it's like really fun to be able to do it for yourself. But I think like, why do coders get burnt out more than like anybody else? It's because it's very intense, and when you're doing it for somebody else on demand, sitting in an office all day, I don't know, it kind of sucks. I would never do that. Even if you paid me $1 million, I wouldn't code for someone else. So if it doesn't, but it does appeal to some people. That's just me. So I think if it appeals to you, then go for it. I think it's awesome because you can make so much money, and so it's great if it's something you like to do. But if you're just going to do it for the money, I think you're going to get burnt out and you're going to wish you were doing something else. That said, I do think, it's the language of our world right now. And so to understand how coding works, to be able to do it for yourself and like make projects and automation sort of stuff for yourself, I think is really valuable. So I think it really just depends what your goals are and what you're excited about. Let's see. It's okay. It's honestly, my experience having COVID was less severe than getting a cold or a fever. Like, it really wasn't bad. The only thing that sucked is my family was having this big family reunion. They were renting a beach house. It was like I hadn't seen some family members I'm really close with in like 2 years, and I couldn't wait to see them, and I missed that. Luckily, a bunch of them were in Austin after that, so I got to see most of them. They just left yesterday. Missed one of them, unfortunately. So I pretty much know where I got it. So I was in Germany, or at least I think I do. I was in Germany, and they're very strict. You have to do contact tracing everywhere you go. You have to wear like the real masks that actually do something, N95 masks, and you have to prove you're vaccinated before you go in anywhere. So it's very safe. And so the day before my flight, you have to get a negative test to go back. So I got my negative test, and then the next that evening, I went to a ballet, and at the ballet, they didn't make us wear masks because they were spaced out by at least two seats in every direction. And I believe that's where I got COVID. But, it's really not a big deal. I'm vaccinated, I'm young, I have no underlying health problems. I think in my risk group, it's really about the same as getting a cold or a fever, but honestly, I would rather have that than get a real fever. It's really not that bad. After your experience with COVID, are there any opinions on the different measures in different countries? I think it's just a trade-off. Like, I don't think anybody's right or wrong. My personal belief, which is probably not even all that informed, so who knows, is that I think we should just drop all restrictions. I think at this point, you can get a vaccine if you're vaccinated and you're healthy. It's not going to be that big of a deal if you get COVID. And it's like, we don't shut down society for colds and flus. And I think if you're vaccinated, it's essentially on that level of severity for most people. But that's also very selfish because I know that I have proof now it doesn't really affect me that badly, and I would like to see things open. So, we're all kind of coming from our own biases, but that would be my preference. But I get why people are doing other stuff too. So, let's see. Are you still an Alcor member? What are your current thoughts regarding insurance, term, and reputable insurers to work with? Sorry. See, still cough a little bit. Funny thing is, I didn't cough when I had COVID. I only cough after. But it does get better every day. So I switched to Cryonics Institute. Mainly it was just cheaper and seemed equally good, but could be something to reevaluate. I got 20-year term life insurance from an agent named Rudy Hoffman, who he specializes in this, and that isn't necessary, but it's sort of helpful because he knows how to set it all up, and he's a very nice guy. Rudi Hoffman, Hoffman. If you search for him, you'll find him. Let's see. It's like $20 a month. So probably I signed up when I was like 30 or something like that. So probably I have 10 years left. You can also self-fund it after that, where you leave part of your estate to Alcor or Cryonics Institute. And so that's probably what I'll do. I probably won't renew insurance. If you're going to get insurance, though, just get term. All the other ones essentially are bundling a really crappy investment component that isn't something you want to do with it, and they kind of make it seem like a good thing. But really, you should always just do term insurance. I've been doing a lot of like financial research kind of stuff, and there's basically never a good reason to do anything other than term. Rishi is great. If you go to their Garden Direct section, the question is, I'm on the Rishi site, what are your suggestions? Try a Phoenix Oolong, try like a Japanese Sencha. I think those are like pretty good, consistent teas that are always going to taste good. You could also go to the Garden Direct section and see if there's anything there that seems exciting to you, or like the description sounds good. Those tend to be a little higher quality, but like a little more kind of like the kind of tea I'm drinking. Let's see. All right, getting back to the should Mark learn how to code? Studying nutrition in college, like it, but difficult to get a job where I live. Probably should move. Stuck working in a Starbucks job, living paycheck to paycheck. Friend that works in tech suggests it. Yeah, I mean, in that situation, it seemed like, I'm assuming you don't love working at Starbucks, but maybe you do, but it sounds like you don't. Yeah, I think that there's some benefit to like, hey, just slogging through a tech job for a few years, saving up some money. I forget who I was talking with. I was talking with somebody the other day, and we were talking about like who's rich and who's not. And I think there's definitely a selection bias because it's how I am, and I have weird friends and all this. But something we noticed is that all of us were willing to make pretty big sacrifices that are hard to recommend to other people. So like, I got way ahead, but part of it was because I lived in an RV on the side of the road or behind a gas station in San Francisco. And I liked it. It's not like I didn't like it, but I also know that like when I give other people advice, I can't recommend like, hey, live in a vehicle, right? So I think it's going to be hard to get ahead if you're working at Starbucks anyway. But I think that depending on what your goals are, I think that having that willingness to like really sacrifice your lifestyle for a few years, or 5 years, 10 years, something like that, to really leapfrog and get ahead, so maybe you have to move somewhere where there's better opportunities. Maybe you have to move somewhere cheaper. Something to consider. But, everybody has different goals too. If you just want to not be living paycheck to paycheck, but maybe just, get a tech job, something like that. If you code, see, this is someone who probably has more experience than me. If you code for somebody, make sure you'll have to do some design architecture work because that's the fun part. Oh, on the other hand, it's more exhausting than just executing. Probably good advice. I don't really know anything about it. Oh boy. T-letter, same thing. He wants you to move too. Where do you live? Be curious. He's in the UK or Spain. Okay, something like that. Michael, thank you for asking. Recent Superhuman event was awesome. It was so much fun. Awesome group of guys. Especially because I hadn't done one in a while. I think like before the first one I ever did, and then if I haven't done them in a while, I always have this like little worry the day before where I'm like, well, what if these guys like aren't into it? What if they don't like, it really takes like people being willing to be open and honest and kind of like participate and be part of it. And I'm always worried that they won't for some reason, but they always do. And it's always a great group. So this was a really great group of people. I really enjoyed it. And like every time I'm like, right after I'm like, I got to schedule another one immediately. But I did have some last minute cancellations that I think were due to COVID. And that was kind of a bummer because it was like, the week before. So it's not like I could fill them. So I might wait for COVID to go down a little bit and then I'll do some more. I would like to do a Budapest one too, but I need to wait even more because it's hard to like travel internationally right now. Oh, yeah, this was fun. You did this thing for Noah where you hid a bunch of clues around the house. How did you plan that? How can I do something like this for a friend? So the story is that Noah had this watch that he wanted to buy himself, but he didn't want to have the watch until he reached a certain milestone of either hiring or like deciding to become the CEO of his company. And so I was over here and I brought the watch from Vegas with me because I knew that he was gonna get it soon. And I hid it somewhere and then I just worked backwards. So I was like, I basically found a spot where I was like, where can I hide it so that nobody, like no housekeeper is going to find it, right? So I found a good spot And then I wrote a clue for that spot, and then I found another good hiding spot for that. And then I thought, okay, what's a good hiding spot for that? So it really didn't take that long. It's maybe a half hour of running around. And I think I got lucky that there were a couple clues that I thought were going to be too difficult, but he stumbled upon them. He got them really quickly. I mean, he does escape games, so he's good at this kind of stuff. So it worked pretty well. A lot of fun to do. Like, I really enjoyed it, and then I couldn't wait for it to be the day where where I could be like, hey, by the way, I've hidden this scavenger hunt in your own house. That was a lot of fun. Let's see. Anything you've done to keep your shared properties utilized during pandemic? No, they've been empty. So nobody's been to the island in 2 years. We're going to go next month, so I'm really excited about that. I might do a tea time from there. Actually, I probably will. But we did have our neighbor go visit and make sure it was okay. Let's see. Japan was interesting. Japan got used because one of my friends who bought it with me, his wife is Japanese, so they could go to Japan. And so they went to visit his family or her family, I mean. And so they stayed there for a while, so that was cool. We've been going to Hawaii a lot. I'll probably go back there soon. And then I just went to Budapest for the first time in 2 years, and somebody left the windows open because I guess they were drying sheets, and we just come back often enough that it's not a big deal. So it was really dusty and really dirty, but not damaged in any way. So yeah, it's been kind of a bummer that they've been underutilized, but part of it is that we do these properties with such a long time horizon that it kind of doesn't matter. It's like, well, they're cheap enough that you can amortize it and it's going to get used enough in your lifetime that it'll be worth it. So yeah, we didn't worry about that too much, but cannot wait to be able to go back to the Japan one, and can't wait to go back to the island. That's going to be awesome. Haven't bought a horse yet, but still thinking about it. I think we might buy one. Let's see. Oh, this is good advice. Nicholas, you have good advice, man. Yeah, consider crypto. Lots of demand right now. That's really true. If you learn how to write smart contracts for Ethereum, it's probably a little riskier than, I don't even know if it is riskier. It might be riskier than just regular learning how to code, but very, very likely to be the future. And yeah, I know that there's a lot of demand there that isn't met yet. Whew, all right, got to the end of the questions. What else do you guys have? Boy, no more questions? We out already? Have you ever been to the tea farms in Japan for the harvest season? Yes. I went to, I have some friends in Fujieda, Japan, it was one of the first organic tea houses, not tea houses, tea farms. And so I've been there, but what happened? I think I came right at the end of harvest, and then I wore sandals, so I didn't really get to help. They were like, what are you doing? Yeah, I guess you can't really help. But I've been there. It's really cool. Got to drink the fresh tea and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't go to tea farms all that much. I don't know. I tend to go more to tea houses, but I like tea farms too. Here we go. There's a lot. I think there's a lag in comments because I asked for questions and it seems like there aren't any, and then all of a sudden there's a million. My wife runs a horse boarding business, and I liked your idea of sharing a horse. I want to see if it could be a cert. Yeah, you aren't in Vegas, are you? If you're in Vegas, let's work out a deal immediately. This is a good question. General thoughts about moving to a new country. For me personally, or in general, I guess if you want to answer it, I can be more specific. Otherwise, I'll just kind of ramble. I think for me personally, so I think America is awesome. I love America. I really do think it's the best country to live in. Not the best in every single way, obviously, but the best overall. And I think that speaking the language natively is so important to experience. Having family and friends here, infrastructure, knowing it well. I think, I'm 40, I'm officially an old man. I think sort of at that age, it's like, would I ever really want to start over completely and like have to learn this stuff? I don't really think so. So for me, there's no appeal to it whatsoever for me. I could see longer trips, especially somewhere like Japan, like living there for a couple months, I think could be like an interesting experience. But I think it adds difficulty in a lot of ways that I don't need right now. And so for that reason, probably I would stay in America. But it also depends. If you live in like a country where there's not a lot of opportunity, not a lot of like-minded people, could be worth, like my wife moved from a foreign country. I have a lot of friends who moved from foreign countries, and all of them are like, oh yeah, America is the best. Like there's so much more opportunity here that you have to be crazy not to move to America. And I don't think that's true. I think it's a good option. I think there's a lot of other good options too. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. Any books in the works? No. Might be done writing books. I think these days the like payoff for time is maybe not worth it, but it's not like I ever really write them for money anyway. So I think if I had something I wanted to write about, I would. I kind of have an idea I'm working on. It might just be a blog post. It might be a book, where I'm sort of coming up with this alternative finance system, which sounds like a sketchy thing, but it's sort of how to use existing things in a way that most people don't. Example is like the managing your finances, like a billionaire posts that I wrote. I'm sort of developing that into a more all-encompassing system. I'm not sure if there's enough there to write a book about or not, but we'll see. I'm still figuring it out. But possibly that. Oh boy, lots of questions here. Okay, hold on. What projects are you working on these days? I'm not working on much. I've been renovating my tea room. I don't know if you guys saw the thumbnail image for this tea time on YouTube, but that's my new tea room I've been working on. Trying to convince people to move to Vegas. I'm traveling again, spending some time with family. I don't have any big projects right now. I actually had a big project that I worked on during COVID. I kind of got to like 90% and then kind of lost motivation and realized it was going to take up too much time if I actually launched it. Might still do it, I'm not sure. But I'm also trying to kind of be mindful of like not just doing projects and building businesses for the sake of building them and making sure it actually fits with my goals and what I want to do. And I'm not sure it does right now. So that said, I do, what did I do the other day? I had some programming project. Oh yeah. For all of our shared properties, I made a front end so everybody could like log in and pay their dues and change their credit cards. So it's kind of fun to do something useful again. I don't know. Ooh, yeah, this is gonna be a tricky one. Let's see. What's a decision to which you knew the answer but took a long time to decide and take action? How did you overcome it? That's a good question. Let's see. Oh wait, what is it? I just had one recently. Oh, I'll tell you what it is. So normally I make really quick decisions like moving, buying houses, all this kind of stuff. Even getting married was like, I wasn't really even thinking about it. And my wife actually proposed and I was like, oh, yeah, let me think about it. And I was like, oh, I'm probably going to say yes. Okay, yeah, let's just get married. But a friend wanted to buy half of Cruise Sheet about right before the pandemic, so I guess 2 years ago. And that was a really hard one for me. It was a really difficult decision. And I was taking too long. I guess maybe this isn't the right, I didn't really know the answer. I guess I kind of knew that I was going to work out a deal with him probably, but not 100%. So it's taking me forever, and I was very frustrated with myself because I'm like, hey, I make quick decisions. Why is this taking me forever to do? And so a couple things I did is I wrote down the pros and cons. And then I had this idea that if a decision is hard to make, it probably doesn't matter which side you take as long as you're a reasonably smart person, because you probably thought about the pros and cons and they must be about equal. And so it's probably more important to just make a decision and move on. And a lot of it was discomfort with having someone else because I was going to be partially accountable to somebody else, and it would add some chaos. And so I ended up saying yes for that reason because I thought, well, it's pretty close. I'm less comfortable saying yes. So it's kind of, I should bias in that direction. Uh, yeah. Oh, okay. I'm not. T-Letter says I'd love to try some of the harvest internships that farms are trying to spin up. Uh, I don't know what those are, but if you want an introduction to my friends who have the place in Fujieda, just send me an email, tynan@tynan.com. And I'd be happy to. They're super, super nice, amazing family, and they're always like happy to have people come help them out for a few days, so, or even longer if you wanted to. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to email me. All right, let's see. I think this is going to be a good question from Misha. Question is, how does one juggle motivation, organizational resources to move forward with several things at the same time? Let's say I'm fairly busy with work and family, but I also want to progress with my wushu and my go and to read a lot. So I'm a big believer that you really have like one or two top priorities, and then everything else is not going to progress as fast as those things. And so it's really important to figure out what those priorities should be in terms of, hey, here's where I am now, here's where I want to be in like 5 years, what do I need to do to get there? And then also to make sure that your daily actions are reflecting that. Like if I looked at your life, what would I say your priorities are, and did those match with those two? And I think that you can sort of do everything you want to do in a lifetime, but not if you do it all at once. So I think you want to be doing things serially versus parallel. And if you aren't sacrificing some of the things that you care about, probably you're not putting enough effort into the ones that really need the focus and attention. That's not always true, but I think for somebody who's asking this kind of question, it probably is true, right? So, you've got work, family, and then some hobbies. I would pick which of those things you want to be moving forward on and which of them you want to maintain, and you only get to move forward on two. And so you sort of set the other, let's say you say, okay, family is good. I just want to, I don't want to abandon them. I don't want to like neglect them. So you say, okay, how much time do I have to spend a week to just keep my family situation good? So maybe it's, you're going to have family dinner once a week. You're going to have like date night once a week. You're going to spend some time with your kids or with your extended family, whatever it is. And you kind of schedule those things in. And then you say, okay, I want to read a lot, but maybe I don't have time to read a ton. So I'm going to read a half hour every day. I'm going to do that before I go to sleep. And so you sort of work backwards. And then you have the bulk of your time, which you try to keep in contiguous blocks. And you say, okay, that's going to be my work time, or that's going to be wushu time, or whatever matters most to you. That's how I would do it. And so, like when I was trying to build discipline and make sure I could work hard and get set off the ground, I compressed everything else to very, very small amounts of time. And then that was all I could do all day. And so I made a lot of progress. It didn't matter because set failed. But in terms of scheduling time and priorities, that worked well. Let's see. Steven asks, how do you feel your diet and nutrition reduced your COVID symptoms? It's hard to say. I don't have a control, so I don't know if it did at all or not. I do think that being a generally healthy person obviously helps, right? Because there's a lot of stuff where people are obese or have health issues that they do really poorly with COVID. So I do think it helped somewhat. I think I got lucky as well. I think I just have a good immune system. And then being vaccinated obviously is a big factor. So it's hard to say. One interesting thing is, and this could be coincidence, who knows? The nights, so I did sauna on purpose because I thought fever is sometimes a symptom of COVID. That probably means that the body can fight it better if it's warm. So I'm going to go in the sauna. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it made sense to me. And just sometimes you want to feel like you're being proactive about something. And so every night I did the sauna, I felt better the next day. And every night I didn't do sauna, I felt worse the next day. And it was like, it wasn't just that I happened to only do it when I was getting better. Like I did it day one, I did a really long 30-minute sauna. And then the next morning I felt even better. But then I thought, oh, I guess I'm over COVID. I'm like really not that symptomatic. So I didn't do sauna. And then the next day I felt worse. And then I did sauna, I felt better. So I kind of went back and forth. So that seemed to be an effect. But again, it could just be random chance that I'm ascribing it to that. Yeah. Moving to a new country, I'm getting a new remote job in crypto. Cool. And considering moving abroad just to see something else, maybe tax reasons. Cool. I'm generally not like I don't like paying taxes any more than anybody else does, but I would make only minor changes for taxes. Like I wouldn't live in California because I don't want to pay an extra 13%. It's like 50% higher uh, capital gains tax, excuse me, which is pretty crazy. But people who are moving to like Puerto Rico and then can't leave all year because or for half the year because they don't want to pay taxes, they have to do it for 10 years. Like to me, that's insane. Like, what's the point of making money if you're going to be like trapped somewhere you don't really want to live for half of the next 10 years? To me, that's crazy. But yeah, I think it's nice to see something else. I think, you know, you could also just travel around and kind of see different places and see if anything, appeals to you. So I don't know. I think it's a personal preference sort of thing. Big fan of travel at least. So, why not see some new places and see if anything really grabs you? Oh boy, that's a name I can't pronounce. Wow, I think it's the first name I'm not even going to try. There's just no way that's going to sound good. All right, Wojciech. Wojciech, that's what I'm going with. Asks, hey Tynan, I'll drop a question. It'd be cool to hear about some of your recent house projects. So I built a tea room. I'm so excited about my tea room. Where's my phone? Oh, here it is. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys some pictures of my tea room. I know I should like have it queued up and have it on my computer screen so you can see it in a nice way, but I'm not going to do that. Or I have not done that. So let me show you on my phone. Oh, actually, you're going to get to see my phone too, which is going to be on the gear post, I think. Still have a couple months. Let me find it. Here we go. So here, look at this Z Fold 3. Oh boy. So there's my tea room that I've been working on. So you can see I built a tatami platform for Japanese tea ceremony. And then in the back, I have a tea table that I built for Chinese tea, for just regular seated tea. Here's a little close up on that area. And you can see this wall that I built. See the wood wall on, I guess that's on your right. I built that to separate it from the gym area. And there's a better picture of the wall. So there we go. Looks like a real tea room, right? Pretty cool. I guess that's all I've got. Oh, here's my last positive COVID test. You can see the line is barely red on the bottom. It was interesting that the more COVID I had, the darker it was. Day one, it was like purple. So that's a house project I've been working on recently. I have some other cool ideas for it. I always want to write a post about like my house and all the cool projects I do, but I always have something else in the mix. And so I'm like, well, once I finish that, then I'll do it. And then I moved out of my last apartment. I never even did it or took pictures. So yeah. That's a good question. Paul says, do you think COVID was a black swan event or something that should have been planned for? What would be the next COVID? I don't blame us for not planning for it. I think at any given time, there's like a million extremely like 1 in a million things that could happen. And you can't plan for all of them, right? We just can't dedicate that much resources to all million. Honestly, I think we did pretty well with it. I know that's like not a popular thing to say. Certainly there's room for improvement, but it's also sort of uncharted territory. And I think it's hard to hold us to like a perfect standard. So like, Fauci saying we don't need masks and we do need masks. Like, yeah, but he had constraints that he had to deal with that. Like, I don't blame him for that. Like we weren't testing enough in the beginning, but it's hard to get that infrastructure going. And it's hard to know that matters as much as it does. I thought our vaccine rollout was really good. I thought we did a good job of that. So, I think we just have to accept that things like this are going to happen every once in a while. And I don't think we can plan for all of them. I don't know, maybe this is a weird thing to say, but I think in chaos, there's a lot of opportunity as well. And I know that sucks because not everybody can really has the capability or, life situations to benefit from it. But for just an example, I think a lot of restaurants are going out of business and new ones are coming into place, right? It's almost like a forest burning down where it sucks for those individual trees, but maybe for society, it's good. I mean, hey, like my business got destroyed. So it's not like I was only, on the good side of it. So yeah, anyway, I think we did okay with it. I think just having gone through it, we're going to be better at things like that. But I think the next thing won't be that. It'll be something else. But it's really hard to plan for this stuff. Oh my God, I've missed so many questions. Jeez. All right. Might go a little quickly now. Let's see. Suggestions: you have a mid-40s person who wants to change careers. They're starting fresh. How would you help them maximize EVs? Obviously, I have constraints. Can't move, mortgage, kids, trying to find the best future. So I don't know. I think career is such a personal thing that I think where I would start from, and maybe this is harder when you have a mortgage and kids and all that kind of stuff, is I would say, what do I care about? Like, hey, I'm living this life. How do I want to spend that time? And partly that's because you want to spend your time doing something you love or like or enjoy or at least growing from. But also part of it is that you're just going to do better if you're engaged in something. So if you feel like tech has passed you by, forget about tech. But find something else you could do. I think there's a lot of like cool small businesses. I have friends and family members that have started like small, even food businesses, which is not what I would ever do. And they just cared so much about them and did such a good job that they're successful. So I think I'd be thinking more from what can I be excellent at? Yeah. Let's see. Oh boy, I'm behind. I'm way behind. All right, let's see. Paul says, I work in enterprise software and buy versus build is always a big decision. It's something you consider personally. Yeah, I always build everything. And it's not the right thing to do. I think it's like a luxury that I can do this, but it's also my hobby. I just like building stuff. And so I don't think I have good advice on it. I think you should build everything, but all of my friends who I think are smarter than me, especially on this sort of stuff, think that I'm crazy for building as much as I do. So sorry. Yeah, I just don't think I have good advice on that, to be honest with you. Mark, one thing you might want to read is Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. I think it gives a really good framework for making decisions and how to evaluate these things in like a rational sort of thing. So even if we don't have specific advice for what you should do, it might be a good way to think about those options. Marher, I nailed that, didn't I? It's good to see you. Thanks for coming. Great question. Thank you for asking. What is your final Vermeer, or where's your final Vermeer? Do you have a plan to see it? Yes, I'm going to see it very soon. So I'll tell you guys two things. So I'm trying to see all the Vermeers in the world. I love Vermeer. And also then I realized there's only 37 of them, or maybe 38, but one's stolen. And so I've been going all around the world to see them. It's why I was just in Dresden a couple of weeks ago. And the last one is usually in Buckingham Palace, and you can only see it in summer. And I tend to not go to London in the summer. However, right now they're renovating the area it's in. So it's in some museum in London, I think until January. And the UK is opening up. I have a really good friend there who I haven't seen in a long time. What's up, Toby, if you're watching? And so, so I'm going to go see it, and it'll be the last one, which is pretty crazy to see all of the paintings of an artist. And then also, this is pretty cool. I don't know if anybody's seen Tim's Vermeer. If you haven't, it's an incredible documentary. You should definitely see it. Even if you don't care about Vermeer, it's just cool. I think anybody who would be interested in my stuff would also be interested in this, where it's just this engineer who decides he's going to paint a Vermeer, and he has this theory on how Vermeer does it. And so he replicates it even though he's not an artist, and you'll see what happens. But he has painted some Vermeers, and I got in touch with him, and he's going to let me see them. So they're not real Vermeers, obviously, but I think just for the sake of completeness, it's going to be kind of cool to see those. So I might try to see those pretty soon too. So. This is a good question. Do you plan on visiting new cities and countries you've never been to, or are you past that phase of your life? I'd say I wouldn't say I'm past it, but I'd say like the marginal benefit for me of going to some random new city is so low. The marginal benefit of getting to know somewhere I love, like Hawaii or Budapest, or even like the little fishing village that our island is in, or Tokyo, is pretty high for me. So that's definitely where my focus is. That said, I have some friends from Central Asia, from Kazakhstan, who, not this year, but every year do a trip for me and my friends and some of their friends, where we get to see new cities. And Found that to be amazing. Like Kyrgyzstan was stunning. Kazakhstan is awesome. Uzbekistan is kind of cool. Um, Even Georgia, Tbilisi, Georgia was really cool. So I still have some interest in it, but it's just not my focus. Um, I want to go to Antarctica though, so I can get all seven continents. It's kind of a stupid thing, but uh, you know, yeah. I hate Portugal personally. I'm just going to throw this out here. I know a lot of people love it, so I could be wrong, but I think Portugal sucks, to be honest with you. Every time I go there, I'm like, it's just like a mediocre city that I don't know. Yeah, don't like it. Go to Budapest. I think I think there's issues with Budapest living there, but uh, yeah. Anyway, I don't like Portugal. But maybe you already like it. Maybe you've been there, so you like it. Pondering how to make a tea space in my future home. Oh man, it's the best. It's like we don't have couch. We've lived there for a year. We don't have couches in our living room, but I have like two seating areas in the tea room. It's just such a nice place to host and entertain, and it's just yeah, it's fun. I have some more plans for mine too. Oof, they're gonna be good. Um, One thing I'd say is that tatami in my old house, I for most of the time I only had a tatami room, and while I really liked it, I could tell my guests really didn't like kneeling and drinking tea. So it is nice to have a seated one. Something you might think is cool that I'm doing, you might want to do, is that I replicate elements from all of my favorite tea houses around the world. So the slatted wall is very similar to something they have in Ippodo in Japan. The tea table in the Chinese tea area is a fairly crappy, to be, if I'm being honest, copy of the one at Song Tea in San Francisco. The guy, I emailed him and he told me exactly how to build it. And then I didn't have the right tools and knowledge to do real woodworking, so I just bought IKEA countertops and built it around that, which is like a little janky. But it's the same dimensions, which I really like the dimensions of his. Um, what else did I copy? All the tea wares from Higashiya and this place in Hong Kong that I like. So I'm copying all of these, like all of my favorite things from different tea places, which is kind of fun. And so when I'm in there, it like feels like it. Even like my tea scoop is from Jiaozhou. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, right. That's a cool question. What's your experience of seeing a painting you love in person? I haven't connected with visual art because I don't think I understand how to experience it. Yeah, so I had this problem too. Like as a kid, we'd go to art museums, and I would just sort of look around, like, all right, it looks good, I guess. I don't, what do I even do? And I felt even awkward sometimes. Like, how long do I stare at the painting? And my friend started a company called Museum Hack, which has now actually been sold to another one of my friends. Um, and I went on his tours, and I think that really changed how I experienced art. And I think the big takeaway, at least that I got, is just do whatever you want, really. Big part of that is be willing to skip stuff you don't care about. Like I used to think I had to look at everything and like pretend I liked it or try to like it. And what's interesting is some things that I used to skip, like I used to skip wood blocks, I didn't get it. And then later I got into it. Now I literally fly to a city just to see good wood blocks. I think if you learn the stories behind some of it, that makes it interesting. If you learn the process behind some of it, that makes it interesting. I think you could just go to a museum like the Met or the MFA in Boston or even the Honolulu Museum of Art, something that has like a good wide variety. Honolulu Museum of Art is probably the best choice because they have a huge variety and they only have a few of everything. So it's easy. You can do the whole museum in a half an hour. And I would just walk through and just see what you like and see what you connect with. And if it's nothing, then start reading some of the little chats, that's like the little placards next to it, and see if any of it seems interesting to you. Art isn't for everybody necessarily, but I do think that or maybe it's even physical objects. Like even in the Honolulu Museum of Art, they have incredible teaware. I've even seen teaware in some places that was owned by Senno Rikyu, the guy who invented, which but maybe not everybody knows, is the guy who invented Japanese tea ceremony. And it's pretty wild to look at like a tea bowl that Senno Rikyu used, the inventor of tea ceremony. I mean, it's just crazy, right? Or there's incredible tea bowls and stuff like that. So you might be interested in that kind of stuff. And I'd say once you find what you like, just look at that stuff. Don't worry about anything else. But what I'll do is if I'm walking to it and I see something that catches my eye, I'll just stop and stare at it for a while, or I'll read the chat about it. Something I like to do is I like to like go really close and like look at the brush strokes and try to like imagine what it would be like to paint it. Um, but I think it's sort of like it's almost like saying like how do you enjoy a landscape? It's like, well, some people like looking at the sky, some people like looking at the mountains. Could be different for anybody, but it's a cool question. Um, I also just think exposure, like the more you go to um, art museums, the more you'll just like connect with little things. Like I just like Korean Celadon pottery now, which you would just never expect, but I've learned about it and I've seen enough of it that it kind of blows my mind. So I enjoy seeing that. Whereas before, I would just blow right past ceramics because it's like, I don't know, you didn't paint it. It's just a bowl. Who cares? Yeah. Really enjoyed Superhuman Social Skills. I need to write down my list of stories. Also recognize some of the people in the book. Yeah, Nick's been on tea time. I think I'm going to have tea with him hopefully tomorrow. Thanks, man. Yeah, I was really proud of Superhuman Social Skills. I think it's a really good book, and I also think it's a book that there's kind of no alternative to, and that's why I wrote it. Whereas, like, I wrote travel books, and I think they're great, but there's also other travel books you could read, and maybe it's like an equally good method, but just different. So yeah, I wish more people. The Habit book was always the most popular one, and I'm proud of that book too. But I always wished that more people read Social Skills. I thought that should be the biggest one. What's up, Jonas? Jonas, I forget how I pronounce it. Sorry, I missed your questions in the beginning. I saw them and I was like, oh, I'm going to answer these first, and then they disappeared when I started the thing for some reason. How do you work out while traveling? I just wear my regular shoes. If I can, I go barefoot, but usually they won't let you. Actually, usually when I travel, I don't work out except on cruises, and they really force you to wear shoes, which is very annoying. I'd rather work out barefoot personally. Just like for convenience, not because I'm connecting with the earth or anything weird like that. How do you prepare and drink tea on trains and planes? I travel with a gaiwan. So this is a gaiwan. It's a two-part situation where you can put the tea leaves in there. You have this lid, you fill it up, and then you kind of tilt it, and you strain it with that. So I have a titanium one made by Keith Titanium that's incredibly good. You wouldn't expect a metal one to be very good, and this one's great. So I travel with that. If I don't have that, an easy thing to do is to get they're called tuacha or bullet pu'er. It's like these little compressed tea cakes, kind of like this size here. And I'll just put it I don't have it here. I put it in my thermos with hot water, wait for the leaves to settle and drink it. It's called grandpa style. So that works okay. But you can also just get really good tea bags like from Rishi. It's not the same, but if I'm on like a 1-hour flight, that's what I'll do. I won't, mess with the whole setup. Great question, though. Please drink tea while you travel. Oh, Fatima's here. Yeah, I started an hour earlier. I know. I'm just not that. I'm not that consistent. If I was consistent, it would be. I think this would be a lot more popular and easier for people. Sorry, but if I had to do it consistently, I wouldn't do it. So trade off, right? Let's see what do we have here. How do you? Excuse me. How do you get by with a minimal amount of clothing? How do you wash clothes while traveling? So I literally only have this shirt. Like I have a button-down shirt that I travel with sometimes, usually. But like for a trip like this where I know I'm only going somewhere for a week, I just bring the shirt. It's wool, so it stays clean a lot longer. It smells better generally. And if you just take it off and let it air out, it kind of cleans itself, because wool is essentially hair, you can wash it with shampoo in the shower. That works really well. It's like just as good as putting it in the machine. And it also dries a lot faster. And even if it's a little bit damp, it doesn't feel cold. So typically what I'll do is I'll wash it before I go to sleep. Same with my underwear, which is also wool. My shorts are now kind of this quick dry material, but I'll also do it with them. And then I just hang it up, and it's usually dry in the morning. If you have more time than that, then it's guaranteed to be dry. But even if it's a little damp in the morning, it's okay. I've even used a hairdryer. When I was in Germany, I had to use a hairdryer because I didn't have enough time. But you have to have wool. If you don't have wool, it's just like not going to work because it'll accumulate bad smells, especially these stupid synthetic materials that they claim don't smell. I find they smell worse than cotton. Maybe it's just the weird bacteria on my body. I don't know. But like wool, you have to have wool clothing. Let's see. Yeah, if you like wood blocks, you should buy wood blocks. Wood blocks are like the best value in all of art. Literally on eBay or what's the site? If you email me, I'll find it for you. It's dang it, I can't remember. There's a site where it's like a pretty legit Japanese woodblock auction site. Every week they have an auction, which is really fun. Um, if for like $100 or less, you can buy a woodblock that could be in a museum, which is mind blowing. So I first got into woodblocks at the Honolulu Museum of Art. They have a woodblock room and it changes every month, and then they do a really good job because they have a big collection, so they can curate it down to something really nice. And they did an exhibit on Ogata Gecko, who he's from the Shin-Haga movement, which is sort of like the new woodblock movement. So it kind of died out, and then in the early 1900s, late 1800s, there was this new generation of people who did these like really like more realistic, kind of more technical wood blocks. And I'd never seen them before. I'd never noticed them before, at least. And his style is incredibly cool. And it's all these like images from that time, from the early 1900s, late 1800s Japan, including a lot of tea ones. I try to buy all of his tea related ones. And so I loved it. I mean, I was just like, it was the first time I connected with wood blocks, and I was in this exhibit, and I just like looked at every one, read all the little comments about them. It was so cool. And so I was like, well, maybe someday I could buy one of those. They're amazing. Less than $100. I have some in my house that are like equally as good as what was in the Honolulu Museum of Art, which is a pretty major art museum. So consider buying wood blocks. Ogata Gecko is a really good place to start. If you just search for Shin-Haga, there's a lot of good options for that too. Yeah, I'm really passionate about wood blocks. I love them. Oh, nice. Ukiyo-e Hero. Oh, you did a print session with Dave Bull and Asakusa. Amazing. Also, I highly recommend this. I think if anybody goes to Tokyo, it's one of the most fun activities you can do there. So David Bull has a woodblock shop or woodblock studio, and he's like keeping the art alive. He's this white guy who's been in Japan, I think, since the 70s, and he's a master of carving woodblocks, like a true master. Like there are documentaries where like the Japanese people are like, oh, he's the best ever. It's really too bad nobody would help him back in the 70s, or he could have been like the greatest that's ever lived, kind of thing. Super, super nice guy, very personable. And for, I don't know, maybe like $30 or some $50, $20, like some relatively small amount of money, you can go to his studio and you can print a woodblock. And it's so cool. Like I love doing it. Like kids could do it. My friend Todd took his 90-year-old grandmother to do it, and she liked it. And it really gives you an appreciation for woodblocks. What's cool about woodblocks is that there's essentially 3 skilled groups involved in making one. I know this isn't woodblock hour, and probably a lot of people don't care, but maybe it's just an interesting thing. So what would happen is the artists like Ogata Gecko or Hiroshige or Hokusai would paint with brushes the image that he wanted. And then what would happen is a carver would translate that to a series of wood blocks, essentially stamps, to mimic that image, which is an incredible skill when you think about what that takes to do. And then, you know, it takes forever to carve these wood blocks. There's an incredible documentary on YouTube about David Bull carving the Great Wave, which is mind blowing. I mean, I think even if you don't care about art or wood blocks, it's incredible to see what a human can do. And then after that, there's the skill of the printer, because you're essentially painting the block and then stamping it and lining it up perfectly with all the other ones. So it's something we don't think about. Like if you think about like printing a movie poster or something, you think, well, a computer just does it all. Even a wood block, I don't know. I never thought about the skill behind doing it. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, if you go to Japan, look up David Bull. Print Party is what he calls it. The name of his studio is Mokuhankan, I think. One of the most fun things you can do. It's really, really cool. I would do it again, and I did it once already. Somebody's rocking out outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Yeah, that's a good idea too. Hot water from Starbucks in the gate and do grandpa's style. Yep, that's a good move too. All right, guys, it's been about an hour. I said I was going to do 45 minutes. Maybe I'm not coughing as much as I thought. I thought I was going to be coughing a lot. My family's been here and I've been coughing like all day because I was talking so much. If there's a few more questions, I could do a couple more, or we could let it go. Now that Fatima's here, I feel like I should stay on a little long. So she's, for people who don't know, she's one of the regulars. Good to see her. Excuse me. All right. Any more questions, or should we sign off? Do my last tea here. All right, guys. I think we're going to call it. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, well, I'll answer this one too, because it'll be a quick one. Do you listen to music while working? Nope. Once in a while, I listen to Cafe Japanese BGM on Spotify because it reminds me of the music they play in some of the tea houses I go to. But different people are different ways. I just like to totally focus, and I like to just focus on my work personally. I don't know, but different people are different. When I think I'll do another one. I'm about to go on a cruise, so I'm going to be gone. I think what would be really fun is to do one on the island. So I'll do one on the island. Might even do a walking one. That would be fun, right? If I was like walking around the island and people could like see it. Maybe I'll do something like that or sit outside on the island. I'm not sure. I'm going to be on the island in mid-October or end of October, I think. So maybe I'll do one from the island. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, I still have to, I think I need to make a mailing list so the people who are interested will get some reminders when they come. So yeah, we'll think about it. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate all of you. It's good to do a tea time again. Really fun. And I will, let's see. Yeah, probably in less than a month. I know it was a really long interval between these last two. So we'll do one sooner. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Drink tea. Good to see you.